All right, let's talk Chicago Bears. Obviously, everyone's thinking combine. What moves are the Bears going to make this offseason, whether through the draft, trades, or free agency, to give new head coach Ben Johnson the team he needs to take this team to the next level? But lost in the hustle and bustle is a really exciting Caleb Williams update that speaks really highly to the future of the Bears franchise. We'll get into that in just a second. But first, I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, this latest Bears story all began with kind of an innocuous Ben Johnson interview, which he gave to Pro Football Talk over at NBC Sports. I'm sorry, what Brian Poles said talking about Ben Johnson. And there was something really key there. When you look at the data, look at the analytics, something really jumps out. Let's go first into the report, then we'll get into the numbers real quickly on the other side. This is from NBC Sports, like I said. This is Brian Poles talking. I believe that his relationship, talking about Ben Johnson, with Caleb is going to be able to take this thing to the next level. Obviously, it's going to be a journey in itself for a young quarterback to adapt to a new system, but I'll go back to just the way Ben communicates. I think we're going to be able to really get Caleb where he needs to be and elevate this whole team. Pretty innocuous, pretty bland, pretty kind of whatever kind of stuff. But when you look at the numbers and you look at the data, I think there's a really big reason to believe what Poles is saying here in terms of what Ben Johnson will do for Caleb Williams, and it's astronomical. Let's go ahead and pull us a chart right here. I'll pull this off the internet. I'll try and remember the source and I'll shout it out whenever I can find it in front of me. But what you see here is just sack adjusted yards per drop back with or without play action. The x-axis is play action. The y-axis is no play action, right? What you're seeing here is basically teams on the top right are the best quarterbacks in terms of both. You've got teams in the top left are the best quarterbacks when it comes to no play action. Bottom right are play action, and bottom left are the teams that are bad in all of them. And that's where Caleb Williams is right now. But I think the real interesting thing is when to break down what makes a play action and not play action system work. I'm a big believer that non-play action, we're talking drop back passing, that's usually talent at quarterback and talent around. So if you have a bad offensive line like the Bears did, your non-play action game is going to be terrible, regardless how good you are at quarterback. So let's put that aside. But play action, to me, that's X's and O's. That's system. That's an offensive coordinator, offensive coach that knows how to create spacing, knows how to get his running game involved to create opportunities for the quarterback to get outside the pocket on bootlegs, to create space down the field to attack the seams, to develop one-on-one matchups with a lot of DBs and linebackers, safeties looking to fill in the running game. Play action is all about scheme. And you look at Jared Goff when it comes to play action yards per dropback, he's all the way on the far right. He had the highest in the NFL last season. And to me, a huge part of that was, in fact, Ben Johnson, right? Obviously, the Lions had a talented roster, but when you look at how the Lions played, it was a lot of X's and O's, play action, Jared Goff throwing to wide open people, right? I think Caleb Williams is going to benefit from that greatly with Johnson. I think that's something a lot of people have kind of talked about. But when we say reinvigorate Caleb Williams and take him to the next level, I think we're talking about something a lot simpler. We're talking about just a good X's and O's guy in Ben Johnson. They'll just create wide open receivers like Jared Goff was throwing to in Detroit for the Bears with Caleb Williams. I think this is an exciting update for Williams and the Bears, and it's important to remember that when it's all said and done, play action game is all about scheme and X's and O's, and there's nobody better at that than Ben Johnson. Look, the talent on the O line, that has to get fixed, but we know one thing's for certain. Caleb Williams, next season, he's going to be on the right side of this graph, undeniably so, among the most efficient play action quarterbacks in the league, because that's what Ben Johnson will bring him. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this. I've said, God knows, more than enough. But first, Bears fans, in the comment section below, your turn. Obviously, Ben Johnson's going to fix the play action game, but what position specifically do you think the Bears have to address to fix the rest of this passing attack, right? One of the guards, center, right tackle, running back. You need another receiver, maybe something on defense that I'm missing. Special teams, who knows, whatever it is. Give us one position group you think the Bears have to go hyper aggressive at this offseason to help out this entire team. Give us that position group in the comment section below. But Mize, over to you now. What are your thoughts on everything going on, and especially this Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson for the Bears?
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting, especially when you look at the numbers, you look at the chart, because you see what Jared Goff does, and he's very far right on that chart. He's really, really close to the median line as well, meaning that it's almost exclusively the scheme that kind of got him to where he was. Where Caleb Williams, he's at the bottom, but I think that also shows exclusively scheme kind of really took Caleb Williams' talents down. And that goes on to talk about, you hear the digs from Ben Johnson talking about, he's like, oh, I've never even been around a quarterback, as talented or athletic as Caleb Williams. A little bit of a slight towards Jared Goff, but it's probably true. Caleb Williams is a much better athlete than Jared Goff is. I think he's more fluid in the pocket, better scrambler, better legs. I think he's going to sell play action better because there's actually a threat there that he may keep the ball and do something with it. So I think that this is a very, very good matchup. And I think Ben Johnson is going to highly elevate Caleb Williams' play. And I think Caleb Williams finally will be a quarterback that Ben Johnson has been looking for that can elevate his system. Because Jared Goff ran the system well, but we talked about this a lot when we talk about the Lions. He was kind of the chokehold, the bottleneck of the system. The system wasn't going to get any better unless they got another better quarterback that could execute the system better, a la Caleb Williams. I think this is going to be a really, really smart match for Ben Johnson's system. So, all in all, I think this is all makes sense. You hear these comments, everything. I think it's something worthy of being excited for. I think you're going to see Caleb Williams. He's going to shoot farther over the right on this graph because he has a great scheme now. But he's also going to be up much, much higher. It's going to be the inverse of what Deshaun Watson was on that graph, up in the top right-hand corner, because he is good. He's an athlete. He can elevate the system, but also he has a very good system to run as well.
And it's important to understand, right? If you look at the graph more thoroughly, you can see that even quarterbacks that lack the talent around them, but have a good system, a good scheme. I look at Justin Herbert, for example, and in some cases Matthew Stafford, or the really extreme is Sam Darnold. They're still on the far right side because they have good schemes around them that make their job so much easier. And if you improve just to the right, you have just this linear relationship where you also improve vertically. And it just makes sense. If you become better in the play action game, your drop back game is going to get better because teams have to game plan more for the play action game. And you just get a nice combination loop going on there. People have been focusing so much on, what the Bears are going to do this offseason. They're going to be focused so much on Ben Johnson's trick plays, how he's kind of a young, exciting guy. And all of that's great. That's good stuff to be excited about. But folks, this is it. This is Caleb Williams getting more efficient at play action with Ben Johnson and how he schemes out this part of his offense. And suddenly the Bears win 3, 4, 5, 6 more games. And Caleb Williams is that much more efficient, right? This is all it takes, right? I know there's a lot of problems with this roster, but overall, sometimes this game is so simple. Run the football, play action, play good defense. Don't screw it up on special teams. You win games, you go to the playoffs. They got their quarterback. They've got a talented roster. They've got enough pieces on special teams. They got a few things to clean up overall, right? It's far from perfect. But that number 2 element, play action, that was a disaster last season. They will go from disaster to great in 2025 and beyond. And with that, we'll see a big spike in Williams' performance and a commiserate spike in wins.